It is my extreme pleasure to be joined by Wade Macneil of Alexisonfire, Gallows, Black Lungs. But in this case, we're going to be talking about film composing for the first time. Mate, before we go into it all, how's lockdown been?
Well, as you can see, I'm in a park. Which is,
Therefore, not lockdown.
There's two things you can do. You can be in a room like you're in right now, or you can be sitting in a park. There's two moves.
Damn straight. Damn straight. So, have you been busy creatively during lockdown?
Yeah. It's been really good from a writing standpoint. Like, I've written probably too many songs. I've been writing working on something that, I don't know, maybe will be a book at some point. I don't fucking know. I've been trying to use it to be all the things that I always say I don't have enough time to do. And it's been good. I have no idea what's going to happen with any of this shit. But, I don't know. There's a lot of it.
Mate, it speaks volumes about your work ethic that you're in 3 bands, a movie composer, and you're still looking for more to do. I love that. So, film composing, let's talk about it. Scoring within our musical landscape has been more of a thing in recent years. I mean, obviously Trent's won a fucking Oscar, but I went to the premiere of CM Punk's movie out here last year, and that was scored by Steve Albini as well. So what is it about, and now yourself working on Random Acts of Violence as well as other things that we'll get to, what is it about intense songwriters that lends itself well to film composing?
Well, I think it's kind of this dream of a lot of musicians that, you think you're on the road and you think, oh, if I could just score a horror film. It's in the back of everyone's mind. I'm thinking, you spend so much time on the road. There's a guy getting back to work behind me. You spend so much time on the road, like watching TV and watching films, and then the rest of your day is just music. So I know a ton of musicians, are so massively into film, and I was lucky enough that kind of someone opened that door for me. Dave Arishel, who wrote and directed this movie, I connected with him when he made his second Goon film, and did some music for that, and that was the first time I'd worked on a film. And so he was kind of he was an Alexis fan, and he kind of talked to me about doing that work, and kind of really encouraged me, and opened that door. That's led to I've scored about 4 films now at this point, like a TV series, some video games, and it's cool. Like, one thing keeps leading to another.
So how did you first start fucking around with it? I know, like, when you say it's in your head, and I love the fact that your go-to is like, we all want to score horror movies, not just movies, fucking horror movies. So where did the love for horror come from first? Let's get into that.
I think anyone that has a fucked up enough childhood likes horror films because it allows them to control being afraid. So this is my really deep answer.
I agree.
And then I think more than that, just like aesthetically, like I've always been drawn to like dark shit. Like I liked punk, but I liked the Misfits and Necros and that shit. And like, I liked metal, but like, I liked Slayer, and I liked the really dark stuff because musically it sounds like that art looks, and it sounds cinematic. You can imagine. Like it really like conjures up a lot of images in your mind when you hear that stuff. And so I've always really linked those two things in my mind. And then getting to dive into this world of like actually making music for picture has really, it's been cool to like try and expand upon that. And because of also where I come from musically, and not like, I'm not a classically trained composer, that's for sure. The things I'm referencing are like, especially with Jay, like Jay loves like industrial and like loves like post-punk and stuff. So like, sometimes the musical references are like, well, it'd be cool if that kind of sounded more like Holiday in Cambodia, or like if that bass line was like a lot more Joy Division. And so it's like I'm watching stuff and maybe filtering it through those lenses as opposed to, things that are classically orchestral.
Yeah. Have you found yourself bumping into more influences than come through in your other work? Because I've heard 2 of the songs like we've got on a separate playlist from Random Acts of Violence that's out now on Shudder. But did you find other influences creeping into your writing that don't usually show up in any of your other bands, or am I going down the wrong path?
No, 100%. Like I think because it's all of a sudden you're not making music solely for yourself, you're not making music for a concert or for like the fans of your band. So the constraints of what it needs to be really go out the window. And so it allows you to really pull in from a lot of different, just like a lot of different references. So, there's a ton of, I think, for me, I think the best horror film that exists is The Shining.
Interesting.
And I think the stuff that's the most frightening about that musically is all the vocal pieces in that. And there's these classical, vocal only, orchestral pieces, like one specifically called Ligeti, that's just absolutely horrifying. And so I don't know how the fuck I would feed that into one of the records I was making, but that can definitely have a place in something like this. And there's certainly moments in that where we got to bring some of that into this. And so it allows you to do stuff like that, had this idea for, wanting to include a lot of bells in the score. I think there's something really ominous about that. And so there's a ton of that in the score. And then just some interesting moments. You get to do, when they're in their apartment getting ready to go on a trip and you need music to be playing on the stereo in the background. It's it'd be cool if it kind of sounded like the Smiths or something. What would they be listening to? So you get to, do something completely different like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so it's making music for film really allows me to explore some stuff I think I never would have the chance to, because it gives it a purpose, Mm-hmm. I'm not just trying to write some tunes that sound like early Smiths, but in the context of that scene, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's fucking. I can imagine that it's fun for you because when I'm thinking about what it must be like to score for a horror film, I think to myself the aim is surely to kind of to zone in on one of those iconic riffs like John Carpenter's Halloween or things like that. But I don't think of the overriding themes that run through the narrative of the whole movie. Do you see the movie and then score to it, or how does the process work in tandem that way?
Well, you see the film with some music that's been placed that's kind of a rough guide, and then speaking with the director and the team that's working on the film, kind of decide what really fits. Talk about where we think the music should go. And just kind of expanding from there. And then I think it's really kind of writing stuff emotionally to help serve what the story's doing. And then also what pieces of music are for each character. And these themes that, come up and, you mentioned before, John Carpenter ideas or stuff like that. So there's these certain things in horror films that, were just done so successfully, just that kind of throbbing synth shit in the Halloween movies. It's or in most of John Carpenter films, it's that stuff finds its way in, a nod to that, or just
Mate,
whatever.
even when you said The Shining, like my first thought was a bum, 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 bum style synth. So I hear what you're saying, yeah.
So like there's that, or just like, you know, whenever Jason shows up in the Friday the 13th films, there's that like snare drum hit with the delays, that like
Yeah.
spooky shit. You know, so it's like, you know, these are all things that I think people just associate musically with being frightened, because those scores were done so well. Like in Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, like Freddy's this kind of weird, like jokey character, but it's frightening. So it's like there's this kind of like flourishing like thing, like whenever he shows up, the synth thing. So
I know what you mean.
yeah, for sure. So it's like those are all things that people just you know, like I think are in a ton of modern horror, and like have become just like the building blocks of making scary movies and what people associate with things that sound scary. So it's like, you know, bringing in some of that shit, and then you know, how can you flip it, or how can you change it, or you know, like I think for that, like the kind of the Freddy reference I said was just like did this thing where we like put a guitar in a super weird tuning and like ripped like a violin bow across it and make this weird shriek, and then just like delaying and reverbing the fuck out of that, making it sound super ominous. And so like the further the score gets built up, you kind of find these little things like that, and then just a matter of stacking them, and then going back to the director, making sure you're kind of like hitting the right emotions and stuff like that, and then going really heavy where it needs to be, and like making the music the forefront, and then also like making it carpet sometimes, like so it's like it's really not the focus, and knowing when to do that. Yeah.
Wading, fading in and out of those kind of things. Like, what I'm so fucking stoked about for you is not like you've always got to indulge yourself in music, but now movies, and I know you're a massive wrestling guy, and one of the best things to happen in wrestling in the last 5 years is the Dark Side of the Ring series put out by Vice. I think it is fucking mind-blowing, like on every level.
Jason Eisner is a fucking genius,
and
like him and Evan made something like so fucking special. And like Jason's like a horror movie dude too. Like he comes from that world. Like he made that film Hobo with a Shotgun.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, that's Jason.
Amazing, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, man. So like Jason's like a horror guy, and like, you know, especially if you think about the way like that film looks visually, or like these other things that he's worked on. Like he worked on Death Note, he worked on like VHS too, I think, and you know, he's brought like more of a cinematic look to this wrestling stuff, and just like he's someone that cares about wrestling more than anyone I've ever met, and like he treated these stories, which are fucking crazy. Like he treated them with the respect that he thinks they deserve. And like, you know, like yourself, like so many people out there's so many people that love wrestling so much and like look at it with that amount of seriousness. And I was like lucky. Jason worked on the first film that I worked on. He edited Goon 2.
Nice. And
so I met him on that project, and like lucky to become homies with them and get to work on some music for this amazing show.
What is it like to do this?
Learn so much about wrestling. Like,
oh, mate!
You know, like I followed it when I was younger, but like I had no idea who like, because I was born in '84, so it's like, you know, like I mean, like I like knew like some early '90s wrestling shit, like not like so like learning about Bruiser Brody and like those stories, like so much of the '80s stuff was before my time, and it is mind blowing. Like every episode of the series is like, you know, you can. There's something there for people that are like diehard wrestling fans, or you could watch it with your mum.
100%. Yeah. The real life stories in there. And the thing that I like about it, and I don't think enough people have focused on this, is obviously there are the bigger overarching stories, like a lot of them are tragic. But the episode in the last series that was the promoter that was one of the hardest partying people ever was literally like, bless his soul wherever it is, but like his lifetime and the stories and the way you told it was unreal. What is it like having to score moments of such extreme emotion? Because that show makes me like howl with laughter in moments like that, and then other times I've been in bits, Wade. I've got no problems with saying.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I think that was one of the cool things. Like the pilot episode was Bruiser Brody, and you know, it's this really heartbreaking, like, story about a family losing, you know, a husband, a dad, and so, like, you know, while there's this super, you know, we did this super harsh like 80s synth shit for, you know, him coming to the ring with like whaley ass guitars, like just like peak 80s shit, which is like a blast to make. And also some like really like soft, like piano, acoustic, kind of heartbreaking stuff, because it is a story about a family and it's a story about loss. And so it's really cool that that show like allows for, you know, both those musical moments and digging into allowing the music to make the tone more serious when it needs to be. But then, like, as you said, it's like, you know, later in the series, get to do a fucking song for like when someone gets dosed with acid at a fucking like disco in the 70s. And it's like, obviously that track is fun to make.
Do you love being able to let loose? Because, like, you know, the music you make is fucking serious. Like no matter which one of your projects it is, it's serious. And watching you explode with joy at like, I just got to wail out in an 80s style, it must have been a right laugh.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's like, especially that show, like, really gave me the opportunity to do some real asshole guitar solos that I would have no fucking business doing on any record in any band for as long as I live.
Next, I had this idea.
Yeah, so that's like such a blast about, you know, getting to work on like any sort of film or TV stuff.
So what's next creatively for you, man? Because it felt for a while like creatively things were heating up for Alexis for a while. Like, is there anything in the pipeline for you and any of your projects? Like Gallows did Slam Dunk last year. Like,
yeah, like we were supposed to, I was probably supposed to be on tour with Gallows like right about now, actually, but COVID changed that. So yeah, we would have been like at Reading, I think, like in a couple of weeks or something like that, like headlining the Funk stage. So maybe, I think, you know, they're doing the same shit next year. So hopefully, you know, we'll be all out there pogoing in our masks. But yeah, I mean, like, I think, you know, like working on this stuff, like, is really exciting. And like Alexis wrote a ton of songs, aside from the 3 that we put out. Like, those were the 3 that we released. We're the only ones we recorded, but we've definitely got like more material. And I mean, I think like if people have heard Season of the Flood by Alexis, I think you can tell I've been making, spending my time doing horror films, you know, like everybody left the studio and I just tacked on about a minute and a half of noise to the beginning.
Gnarly.
So, but yeah, I mean, like, definitely, like, you know, me and the dudes are like hanging and talking, and we wrote a bunch of music when we were jamming, and, you know, with those Gallows gigs next year, it'd definitely be great to get back in the studio. I know Lags has got some ideas. I've definitely got some. As I said, like, going through this this weird time has been like a really creatively great time for me. So like, I think hopefully it means, you know, more soundtracks for films and TV, more Alexis tunes, more Gallows tunes, more shows by both those bands, just more everything.
Good.
The more shit I get to work on, like, the more inspired I am to work on all of it. And, you know, hopefully fucking flatten this motherfucking curve.
Yeah,
and,
damn straight.
Get back at it.
So one more question for me before you go. I've got to ask, what's it been like writing in the reunion era with you guys? Because like what I think anyone who loves your Alexisonfire appreciates is the creative diversity that comes together to make Alexis on Fire. Like, you are thrown around song for song creatively from so many different aspects, and I wondered how that dynamic is after having a few years away from one another.
It was great. Like, it's always been pretty effortless for us to write music together, but I think all of us collectively, like, even though we haven't been playing together, like, we've been playing pretty nonstop. So I think we just were bringing different things to it, and like, I think it allowed us to. Alexis always tried to push ourselves in a bit of a new direction. Like, every time we got together to put something out, and this honestly feels like the next extension of that. And
Awesome.
And I think because of all the stuff we've all collectively been working on, like, we had more to bring to it, and I think you can hear that in the tunes. Like, I don't think we would have been able to write a song like "Familiar Drugs" like 5 years ago. In fact, we tried. Dal had that main riff. Like, he's been like fucking sound checking that riff for like 8 years, and just like, it didn't sound right. Like, we couldn't play slow enough to get the sludgy part sludgy.
Right.
And honestly, I think like Jordan playing with Billy Talent and like having to simplify his drums and like be more in the pocket probably helped with that. Like the fact that even like, like, just, I don't know, like all the stuff of like the different projects I've worked on and like, I don't know, I think it all fits in to like make the stuff what it is. And
Do you think? Sorry, mate. Carry on.
Yeah.
No, I was literally just going to ask in terms of, do you think we'll see Alexis as an album band again, or has the model changed, or?
I don't know. Like, it was cool, definitely putting those tunes out like one at a time. But I mean, I feel like we did that, so I definitely want to try and do something a little bit different. But I don't know. I guess the thing with Alexis is like, we've been keeping it loose as fuck since we started doing it again, and it's like feels good, and like it's been making the shows great and the songs come out good. So that may lead to a new record, that may lead to an EP, that may lead to like fucking more shows. Like, I'm not really sure. Honestly, I couldn't say like where it's gonna lead, but that's exciting. It definitely will lead somewhere.
Yeah, right. Consider us all excited, Wade. The film, A Random Acts of Violence, is out now on Shudder. Dark Side of the Ring is on Vice. Go and hunt it out. Wade, whenever you've got anything coming on, come back on the show, mate.
Sounds good, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Don't forget to like and share this video, and join me on Twitch every Tuesday, Friday and Saturday for guest hangouts, new music votes, tier lists, band-specific competitions, weekly merch roundups, and much, much more. That's twitch.tv/Mosh Talks. Find the link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on notfest.com for all of the latest news, features, and much more from the worlds of rock, metal, and beyond.